It's an international co-production that's really allowed me to make this film. I found it very difficult actually to make the kind of stuff I wanted to make because people were only making Bollywood. It's not really a bold film in that sense, in the sense that there's a little bit of nudity in it. Lots of questions about the film in India. I would love to see a release in India. Hi, this is Ashim Ahluwalia and this is Bollywood Hungama. Miss Lovely is the story of two brothers, Vicky and Sonu Duggal, and it's set in the mid-80s, and it's about these two brothers that basically make sex horror films, C-grade films. Well, I mean, the thing is, it's about two brothers that make sex horror films. So if there's no sex in it, then it would be like making a children's film with no children, no? But the thing is that it's not really a bold film in that sense, in the sense that there's a little bit of raunchy material, there's a little bit of nudity in it, but actually for the most part it's not really about that. It's really about the story of these two guys and their world and that space and how it unfolds over the course of 10 years, you know, starting from the mid-80s to the early 90s. The little bit of the bold stuff in there, when you watch the film, actually you don't even think about it because there's so much other stuff happening. So I wouldn't really call it, it's not really that bold. I had no idea that there were so many C-grade films that got made in India, and actually that most people in small towns were basically watching this stuff. They were not watching the A-grade movies. They were watching all this kind of Pyasi Chudel stuff, right? So I actually got really fascinated with this aspect of Indian cinema. I said that there's a whole underbelly, there's a whole underground of Indian films that nobody talks about. So I planned a documentary around this, and I spent a year hanging out with everybody in the C-grade industry. I spent a lot of time hanging out, going out, drinking, partying, you know, really talking and becoming friends with a lot of these guys, with the idea that eventually I was going to make a documentary. But the problem is that when I decided to make the documentary, nobody wanted to be on camera because they said, listen, there's too much prostitution and illegality and criminal stuff that we cannot be on camera, we'd be arrested or... So that whole project just fell apart, and I had all this material from my research that this basically became the script for Miss Lovely. When I found out that the film was selected for Cannes, I was very happy. I was thrilled, you know, it was great. I mean, it was good, you know, what can I say? Frankly, I didn't know my cast at all. I didn't know who they were because luckily I didn't have any compulsion. Since it's not a Bollywood film, I didn't have any compulsions to put any main actor or anyone in the film. So my casting process was very different from the usual typical casting. I decided I want people that nobody knows. So I just looked for people that I never heard of, essentially. Nawaz had done some small roles. He had been in Black Friday and Firak. He had done like some little pieces of things. And Niharika had done one Himesh Reshammiya film which I hadn't even seen, which is still unreleased. Actually, these people just came to me randomly as a part of a screen test, all these screen tests that we were doing. And their screen tests were just amazing. Mohan actually got to dawn through actually having done my film first. He shot John and Jane, which was my first documentary. So we've actually been working together before he started working in Bollywood. John and Jane actually is a film, it's a documentary, but it's shot on film, so it's almost like somewhere between fiction and non-fiction, and it's about 6 characters that work in a call center. It really is following their whole psychology of going from becoming an Indian to becoming American through the course of the film. It's an interesting, again, a very interesting mix of fiction and non-fiction, and it's almost like sci-fi at times. Okay. So it's a mix of things, and that film actually did really well internationally. Like, it showed a lot, and through that I was actually able to raise money for Miss Lovely. I studied film in the States. I went to New York and I was in film school, and I went to a very unconventional film school, not a typical Hollywood film school, but a film school where they prioritize art cinema and independent film. It's much more director driven cinema. So my entire background has been that, and then when I came back to Bombay, I found it very difficult actually to make the kind of stuff I wanted to make because people were only making Bollywood. So I started directing ads, directing commercials. So I could make money, and also I could be part of some kind of industry and have some network. So that's actually how I got a foothold into the industry, and that's how I started then being able to make films of my own. The film has got money from lots of places. It's got some Indian money. I put some money in the beginning initially. and then there's money from France and Germany, now in Japan. So it's an international co-production that's really allowed me to make this film. The thing is, it's very difficult for me because the thing is, this film is it's very unusual. There's nothing like it in India. In a way, it becomes a kind of case study, right? Because we don't have anything like it. So it's the first film of this kind, which is not a typical art house film, nor is it a Bollywood film. It's something new, and it's also got some, let's say, bold stuff in it. So I don't know about the censors and how we have to work the censors out, and whether they are going to want changes on the film, how many changes, and am I willing to do those changes, those things. So lots of questions about the film in India. I would love to see a release in India. Probably, if we're looking at a release, we're looking at it second half of 2012, the end of the year, after it's done the international release.